the people of the book. Writing is a quantum leap up from speaking. Writing requires translating thoughts and words into code. A code made up of images, calligraphed onto a medium like papyrus, today paper or other media. Just consider the immense brain power needed to compress a thought sequence into a coded series of images, and to further compress these into 3 dimensions of dextrous hand movements, plus control of writing instruments, let alone alignment of mental flow with these complex physical actions. We take this completely for granted. But imagine meeting up with someone who never heard of writing, and you read from a book, trying to convince that person that your words were inherent in the visuals of these squiggles. Do you really think they'll believe you? And yet there is another dimension to writing and publishing, and that is a sense of responsibility. What you say has only a real-time lifespan. When you finish saying, speaking, the communication ceases. Yes, memory might extend it, but only for a few listeners, and even then only as long as memory permits. But writing's longevity may be eternal. The message lasts and remains extant for all to read, maybe forever. Therefore, writing comes with heavy responsibility, requiring the writer to think twice and more before committing anything into written format, especially since its impression on others is ongoing, and if published, greatly magnified and extended. That is why Jewish teachings have always tried to dissuade the urge to publish. To publish a book requires gravitas, wisdom, and accuracy to dare put thoughts into the public arena of books. Yet, we are called the people of the book, and have probably the most voluminous library of writings and books of any culture, nation, and religion in the history of humankind. And we have also had for over 3,500 years a near 100% literacy rate. So please explain. Might it be that the origin of significant Jewish writings is not man, but God? History informs us that Abraham wrote a mysterious text, a spiritual manual, one that described, albeit cryptically, the nature of creations and the world. It is called Sefer Yetzirah, the Book of Creation. But the text wasn't his personal vantage point on life. It described the way and purpose that God created the world. Even Moses' explanation at Mount Sinai of the Torah was kept as an oral tradition, for fear that committing it to paper might lead to misinterpretation after Moses' passing. It took another 1,700 years before it was finally codified, written down as the Mishnah, and then as the Gemara, which explains the Mishnah, when it became obvious that the cost-benefit of living in doubt of understanding, the manual, Torah, compared to living with a small percentage error of misunderstanding, gave the latter view the nod. And even then, a wonderful teaching has us that what was concluded in the Gemara, God would assent to, and thereby make it ipso facto correct. Till very recently in history, there was no such genre as fiction in Jewish literature. All writing was basically Torah studies based. There are a number of exceptions, such as the publication of personal travelogues through the world exploring Jewish centers and cities, or tales and stories used as metaphors for Torah teaching. But by and large, non-Torah-based writings were not generated. Only with the advent of the period of assimilation, beginning primarily in the 18th century, does one find works of fiction, borrowing the genre from non-Jewish literary sources and styles. The primary reason is that the creative mind was only for teaching and expounding Torah, and no one dared write anything from one's imagination in the face of the infinitely more noble and profound mind of God. The egotistic expression of having my book published didn't arise in the Jewish literary world till our recent times. Even today, those who abide by Torah values will write only books expositing Jewish teachings. So I leave it up to you to decide whether literature, journalism, and other forms of contemporary writing generally have served humanity well or not. Here we enter the seemingly sacrosanct arena that states that all art and literature is surely holy no matter what it says or looks like. Freedom of expression takes front, center, and backstage. But let it not be said that Jewish people weren't literate, a field they excelled in beyond any other counterparts. Not for naught are we called the people of the book.